When I'm faced with situations like this, when I go, this isn't working, I'm going to lose this part of my income. I'm going to lose this job. I'm not going to get this deal I thought I would get. The only thing I can do at that point is decide, is that going to beat me? Is that going to become my fear and my anxiety? Or am I going to shift gears and recognize this as an opportunity to get rid of these things that have been taking up my time and open up my hand for what might be coming next that's greater and that's better? Welcome back to the Raynday Gaming Show. My name is Raynday. Thank you all for being here. And I know that we are just getting started on an incredible journey for what this podcast, the show, really means for you and for me. And I want to just thank everyone who clicked on this sincerely, because this has been a long time coming. The idea that I've wanted a podcast has existed for many years, yet I did not want to run into two of the biggest issues that I feel like a podcast has. One, the logistical work of coordinating a lot of people. I just didn't have the time to do it. And I also, too, didn't have the people who were willing to commit to doing this with me. Though I know a lot of people who I'd like to work with, not everyone is willing to put in that same effort and time. So if I want to record 5 days a week and they can only make once every 2 weeks, that's not going to work to put out content for you guys. So this show was a happy coincidence because I stumbled upon a show called the Bedros Keuilian Show. And I wanted to just give a shout out to him because this is how this show started from the very beginning, and why when we get into it, I kind of want to, again, give a big level of thank you to seeing this format in action, because it finally looked to me like there was an opportunity to do the type of show that I wanted to do just by myself. It's a little bit more like radio, but I've always had that kind of radio style. I've always liked talking and communicating within the viewer, you watching, and bouncing off what you might be thinking and also my thoughts as well. So shout out to him. I think it's a great format. Today, I want to start off with the idea that there is only so much you can do if you have all of your space filled. This idea is something that I think many people look at as a negative when they don't have enough to do. There's just this blank space. We called it being bored when we were young. When I was a kid, I used to kind of always be told when I was bored that boredom has nothing to do with my environment. Boredom has to do with me. It means that if there's nothing going on in my eyes, that it was about my vision and what I was going to turn it to and where I was going to place my attention versus what was actually happening in the world. And while sometimes you are literally sitting in a doctor's office or you're in a car ride that's taking 6 hours and you're kind of bored, let's be honest, there's a reason the word exists. What my dad imparted on me was a sense of truth to the idea that we can turn our attention to limitless things. And there's bound to be some things that interest us. You could start writing. You could, maybe not even listen to something. Say you have nothing, you could start creating in your mind. And that's kind of what I started to do during that time. I started having a lot of thoughts, a lot of stories. I would make believe, I would improv, I would act. And that definitely set me up for having, I think, a lot of desire to be in some type of creative field. And I go back to why that was important. It's that if I didn't have that space blank, free, and I filled it with TV and music and every other thing under the sun, which I did plenty of times, we all do. But if that's all I did, I wouldn't have been able to develop that skill. And that skill might be worth millions of dollars over the course of my lifetime. So what does that mean for you right now? Well, we have a period in our lives in the United States, and this is kind of worldwide. You're feeling it on social media and Instagram, on all these places. Things are kind of been shifting down for a while. From the economy, socially, we've been arguing about the same things and getting more hard-headed about our stances on them for the last 5 years nonstop. People are exhausted, myself included. We are seeing distrust amongst people more so than ever. Being vulnerable is like a it's like a relic of the past. You might as well have to be an archaeologist to discover vulnerability around you lately, which is, in my opinion, one of the most valuable tools to building successful relationships in business. And I'll probably get onto that in another podcast. And if this is something that you want to hear me talk about, I will, because I got a lot of great stories on how being vulnerable has actually made me a lot of money. But not just that, really cemented some friendships and some relationships. But we've also just seen a collapse in the certainty of where things are going. And when people get uncertain, they try to fill that time. And this is the big horn that maybe you've experienced. It's the alarm that I want to set off for all of you who are listening today and watching today, is that don't fill that time yet. Breathe. You know, it's so funny. I feel that the exact opposite of what you want to do in this type of situation is what you is basically what you should do to create your next level. And let me explain, because it doesn't really come up. It's a little bit of a paradox. You have all this time, don't do anything. Part of it is that we don't observe when we have free time. Think about when you're in a relationship. What do? You're in a relationship, you're spending all your time, you guys suddenly you break up and you got all this free time. You have all this lack of, emotional connection that you had before. So what do? You immediately fill it with friends, with activities, with the gym, right? Bettering yourself. We all know after you break up, you look 10 times hotter than you were. We fill that time. And what's weird about that is we, in a way, better ourselves. We, in a way, kind of do things that we hadn't been doing in the relationship that, because we have the time, we now see as like crucial to the joy of our life. What if that job, what if that uncertainty, right? That thing that you had and maybe you got let go. There's a lot of people in esports that got let go. A lot of people that are uncertain about their futures. What if that thing happens? The big calamity. Well, one, I have a perspective I want to share from you with an author known as Tim Ferriss. He wrote a book called The 4-Hour Workweek, and he is an incredible writer, incredibly eloquent guy, and extremely successful in a variety of different things. And this book changed my life back in the day when I read it, and I was really, really sick of my situation. I was full-time working in a job I hated. It was a sales job, one of those jobs that you gotta, not only do you have to sell, you have to do it in an environment you don't like. You have to wake up way earlier than you want. I was waking up at 5 a.m., which for some people are going to tell me that's not early. That is early. 5 a.m. is early. And I would say that I would have to drive an hour and a half just to be in the office to start making calls late, because I was on the West Coast and most of my calls went to the East Coast. So regardless of that, I was at this job, hating my job, and I was making, at that time, $3,000 a month. And you think that's kind of a lot, but I had a car payment, I had insurance, I paid $600 in rent, and so that already was $1,500 gone. So now one of my paychecks basically comes and then immediately goes, right? So I'm waiting for the rest of the month for $1,500. And luckily I was able to defer my student loans. Luckily I was able to pay my credit card bill, which I had accrued a bit of debt. Not too much, maybe $4,000 or $5,000, but I had accrued a bit of debt for some self-work that I kind of paid it forward to myself. And I was stuck. I mean, by the time it was all done, I had, $1,000 to get food, do any level of entertainment, pay for gas, take care of any miscellaneous thing that happened. And at the end of the day, it became a cycle I realized I wasn't going to get out of unless I quit. I quit that job. And what ended up happening was I got another job that I worked 3 days a week with. And it was a babysitting job. And I had two requirements. One, I want time to be able to work on my passion. So I said that to this job. It was a babysitting job. This family ended up becoming one of my, crucial elements of my life in this kind of transformative period when I was 24, 26. So I said, listen, I need a job. I want to do this. But I need to also work on something else. Like what I was doing, putting all my time in this thing that felt safe and consistent was keeping me exactly where it was. And I then said, and I also am willing to take less. I just need enough. I just need enough to like get by. Okay. Like I don't care. I will pinch money. I will do anything. I will take it easy. And what ended up happening was they said, okay, you work 3 days a week. You work for 3 hours after school, 4 to 7, pick the kids up, 7 p.m. You're done. We're having dinner. You can leave. $2,000 a month. I said, fine. So in that exact time, what I did by letting go of that job and letting go of more money was I gave myself 2 free days in the week I never had, 3 free half days in the week, didn't have to wake up early anymore at all, or could wake up and get straight to working out or doing what I felt like I needed to do. And I gave myself an incredible level of flexibility, all by reducing everything that I had. During those 2 days a week, guess what I did? After work, I would work on some, but on those 2 days I was off, guess what I did? This, my YouTube channel. And that ended up leading ultimately into a lot of different steps I'll explain throughout the show. And then as we talk more into the life that I have now, where I'm able to have been working in the gaming industry and in esports for 6+ years, maybe 8 years. I don't know. It's been a while, but it's all because of letting go of what was taking all my time and paying me a little bit more. And I go back to don't fill the space, because in times of uncertainty, we feel comfortable having something taking up all our time. We feel comfortable following a path because we know that path is a path. We know it's not unbeaten. We know that someone has already walked down it. And if they walk down it, I mean, it's okay for us, right? At least it's a route. I feel that is the way to stay exactly where you are. And this is maybe not what you want to hear. It's probably not what I wanted to hear either, but it's the only thing when I'm faced with situations like this, when I go, this isn't working. I'm going to lose this part of my income. I'm going to lose this job. I'm not going to get this deal I thought I would get. The only thing I can do at that point is decide, is that going to beat me? Is that going to become my fear and my anxiety? Am I going to languish in the experience? Am I just going to, like we mentioned earlier in the car, stay bored and let the environment control where I put my focus? Or am I going to shift gears and recognize this as an opportunity to get rid of these things that have been taking up my time and open up my hand for what might be coming next that's greater and that's better? This is what we call, and what I call adaptability. This is something that I was maybe innately born with, or I just got used to. I've struggled in many different ways that I haven't felt as a struggle, but I've been told by my parents and people that, that was a struggle. I can't believe you made it out of it. I can't believe your mentality was like that. I'm just, I can't believe that you had the ability to just turn it into this thing that was positive, even when so many people in the world would consider it negative. And so for me, it's been second nature. But for many people I know, and maybe one of you listening in the show, and I would love to hear your thoughts. I mean, this is interactive, of course, and maybe we'll do this live one day. But I want to know what your greatest opportunities that you haven't seized yet are. I want you to really think about that. What are the things that you in your mind know you would want to achieve before you pass away on this life? In this life, on this planet, the things that are deep inside of you that you want to get out. For me, it's a book. It's a certain book. I had many things like certain performances of songs in front of people, certain things, certain music, certain milestones on YouTube or things like that. There were certain things, certain family-oriented things, experiences abroad with my family and my now fiance. I had that as a thing. I've knocked a few of those out, but everyone's got them. What if, and let's just assume maybe this might be true, consider if it might be true, this is all the opportunity that you need to be able to step into that thing gracefully that you've always wanted. Maybe this space And you don't have to be a spiritual to have this perspective. Maybe the space, even practically, like cleaning out your closet, opens up room for all these dirty old clothes that were never going to take you anywhere or change the way you felt about your appearance. For a brand new closet, you can start filling up with items that actually make you look good. And at the end of the day, you look a year from now at your wardrobe, and everything that you wear presents you as a more conscious, articulate, successful individual, and you see those results in your life versus wearing clothes and shirts that are, nasty that you've had for 8 years. These are the things that space opening up in your life offers. And in many ways, it's the only way you can get more out of your life than what you have, because what you have now is a result of everything that you have been doing up until this point. And guess what? If you want something different than what you have now, then guess what? You got to do something different in order to achieve a different result. Your life is a result of your actions as they are. As Aristotle said, I don't know. No, I'm kidding. The Aristotle quote, I think it's, we are what we repeatedly do. Therefore, excellent is not a trait, it's a habit, right? Something to that nature. And he really does speak to this in such a way where now is the time to maybe start some new habits. Now is the time to fill that space with something that you really love. And whether it's esports or whether it's your own job, the economic downturn, maybe you got a property and you're feeling a little under the weather with mortgage. Maybe you can't even buy a house. You don't know how to save, right? This is an opportunity to look at it. Maybe, at the end of the day, I'll tell you this, I lost a lot of money on my YouTube channel when I was in Georgia. I was making, and this wasn't, that much of the time, but for many people, it's an income you would count. I was making $2,000+ a month on YouTube, 4 years ago. And I was also getting paid probably 3,500, maybe 20, I don't know, something around that. So I was in a decent range. I was probably making 50 to 70 a year in that regard. But you talk about taxes, you talk about these things taken away. I was counting on basically living on my salary from the company. And then I was also just paying my rent, which was about $2,000 exactly, with my YouTube money. And that money just went away. It started dropping as I got busier to, 1,200 to 800. And I just remember having to go to myself and say, this is not going to work. and what I decided to do was, instead of making more money, because I tried the effort of making more videos, failing, getting upset. And instead of doing that, what I did was I budgeted. So the money that was already there that I was doing well with, I took and I said, I'm only going to spend $75 a week on groceries, because I was spending about $200 to $300, I would say. I mean, I like to go out and eat. I like to shop at Whole Foods. I was spending a good amount on groceries a week. So I cut it to $75. I went at Trader Joe's. So that already saved me $700 a month right there. I then, the next year, got a roommate. Bless her soul. Her and her cat, Linux. A lot of love for them. She was barely there, but I moved farther away. I had a great $2,000 apartment. This apartment, $1,500. And guess what? I had a roommate, so I split the cost. And because she wasn't there very often, she just took one room, and I had an office and a big master bedroom for $700. So I cut my cost from $2,000 to $700. So if I had not been dealing with money as coming in a little less, coming in and frustrating me, and if I had, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to then become expansive feeling in the way that I was creating revenue. Once I was spending that little, I actually made a budget to pay off my credit cards. I ended up paying off my credit cards within 6 months, and these had stuck with me for 4 years. All of that, not having enough, losing out on money, it led to more money in the long run, because I had to change my mentality, and I got clear feedback from the world. This isn't exactly it, Evan. You've got to shift. So to end this episode, I want to just say that the power is within you. If someone says you're bored, if someone says this situation is boring, remember that you're just bored. Remember that, yes, it may be a boring situation, but at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to turn your attention onto the things that matter. Do the things that matter. That's why I have the sweater. That's why when you look down on the merchandise, you can buy one of those things. It's all about the mentality of doing those things that matter to you to make you have a fulfilled life. And this podcast, although a brainchild I've had for a long time, and you're probably going to see it evolve and elevate in different ways as we continue these episodes, is a great launching point for me to be able to take a step in another direction that might have a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that I've never seen before. But I sure as heck feel that it's important to try. Because if you don't do that and you stay where you are, you're just going to keep getting what you already got. Thank you so much. I hope if you enjoyed this episode, leave a like. This isn't on Spotify or Apple TV yet. It's exclusive to YouTube. And I might start doing these live on twitch.tv/Raynday. So if you guys want to follow my Twitch, if you want to check in when I live stream over the next few days, I would love to see you there. Of course, you could follow me on Instagram, Raynday Gaming, Twitter, Raynday Gaming, and of course, right here on YouTube. A big subscribe and a like means the most. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed episode 1 of the Raynday Gaming Show. I hope you found it valuable, and I hope you have a great day, no matter what comes at you. I believe in you. Never give up, never stop gaming. We'll see you all next time.